Okay, Rams, today we're going to be working on adding integers. Now remember, an integer can be a positive or negative number. So we're going to start right here with a couple of rules here, okay? Now we have what's called zero pairs. So if our numbers have the same sign, that means they're both positive or both negative, no zero pairs are needed. Okay, so right here, what we call a zero pair is when there's a positive number and a negative number together. So we take those yellow counting chips and we have a positive and a negative, and they cancel each other out and make it 0. Okay, so right here I have 6 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I add 5 more. Okay, there's no zero pairs, so all I'm going to do is just add them all up. And I'm going to end up with 11 negatives. There's no zero pairs. Okay, now my number line here, I know it's a little small. Okay, I'm going to start at 0 every time. Now my first number is negative, so I'm going to go 6 spaces in the negative direction. That's my first number, negative 6. My second number is a negative 5, so I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to go right above it, and I'm going to go 5 spaces in the negative direction. Now it's not 5 lines. It's not from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little weird. You're counting spaces. So end up at negative 11, and that's my answer. Okay, my directions here say begin at 0. Look at the first integer and draw an arrow that many spaces in that direction. So we're going to go 6 spaces to the left. Okay, begin where that arrow ended and look at the second integer and draw an arrow that many spaces and in that direction. Okay, now the rules here, okay, we're just going to add the numbers and keep the same sign. What that means, if both numbers are positive and you're adding them, so positive 3 plus positive 5, your answer is positive. Okay, if both numbers are negative, your answer is negative. Just like this negative 6 and negative 5. They're the same sign. That means they're both negative. So it's like I'm adding bad guys and more bad guys show up. So your answer is negative. Okay, now down here at the bottom, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to solve this problem. Okay, so the first one says use integer chips. That means these little plus and minus circles, and I'll have some on your tables for you to use in class, okay? That means 5 positives. So I just draw a plus sign with a circle. And I have 8 more positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, they all are on the same team, right? Remember the Army video, right? So they're all on the same team. So they're all positives. None of them cancel. So what I have left here is 13 positives. Now, do I have to put a plus sign in front of 13? Not if it's positive, right? Because if I ask you how old you are, you're going to tell me 11 or 12, but you don't necessarily say positive 11. Okay, now my number line, okay, all my numbers are positive, so I only need positive here, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, you don't necessarily have to count every interval. My first number is a 5. So I start at my 0, and I'm going to go 5 spaces in the positive direction. Then from there, I'm going to start my next line, and I'm going to go 8 spaces in the positive direction. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to end up here at 13. And where my arrow ends, that's my answer. Okay, I'm going to do a few more of these for you. Okay, negative 3 plus negative 7. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, right now I just see 10 negatives. So my number line, the way that looks, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. Okay, so I start at 0 and I got to go 3 spaces in the negative direction over here to -3. And then I'm going to go 7 more spaces in the negative direction. I will end up at -10. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you a keyword here that's going to help you with your bonus points on this assignment without saying a word and without telling anyone else. If you write the word elf on the shelf at the bottom of your paper, that tells me that you're listening to this video. Okay, and that's the book I'm using behind my paper, okay? All right, I'm going to skip these next 2 problems here. If you need some help, this one would end up at +15, and both arrows are going in the positive direction. This one, some people may say that's 0, but it's not. It's negatives and more negatives, so I'm going to go 4 and 4 more and end up at -8. So be careful. Okay? All right. You're going to skip this page for just a second, and you're going to get the notes on the other page. Or if you want to pause it and do this one, you can. Okay, we're going to get all the notes in today and all your practice with these. Okay? Now, opposite signs. Okay? So, we have right here what's called a 0 pair. Okay? And the reds are negative, and the yellows are positive. Okay? What this means is when one positive and one negative integer cancel each other. Okay, when they cancel each other. Kind of like your army men that we talked about in class here yesterday. The one good guy and one bad guy when they both attack each other at the same time. Now, what this means, make sure you got that down. When one positive and one negative integer cancel each other. Okay, so my opposite signs here. First thing I do, I write out what I have. I have 5 negatives and 9 positives. So I circle my 0 pairs. So this is a 0 pair because this positive and this negative together, they cancel each other out. They cancel each other out. What do I have left over? Anything left over is your answer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. And that's your answer. It's that simple. Okay? Now, on a number line, what does this look like? I have 5 negatives, so I start at 0. I always start at 0. I'm going to go that many spaces in that direction. So I'm going to go 5 spaces in the negative direction. Okay? Then I'm going to go 9 spaces in the positive direction. So if I go 5 spaces, I'm back at 0. I'm going to be farther than 0 because I've got to go farther. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to end up over here at 4. And that's my answer. Okay, your arrows are different directions because one number is positive and one number is negative. Okay, if you want to play your video sometime, you can. It's just a QR code for a song here. Okay, now think about yesterday when we said who's going to win the war. Are there more good guys or more bad guys? Okay, so we ignore the signs when we're actually adding these, our rule. Okay, these are our rules for adding integers with opposite signs. We ignore the signs. So 5 and 9 is what we're going to work with. Okay, and subtract. Numbers only. Okay, what that means is your vocabulary yesterday told you about absolute value. That's really what that is. We're going to subtract the absolute values, 5 and 9, without the signs. So no signs. Ignore the signs and subtract the numbers only. Okay, what that means is 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, determine which number is larger, has a larger absolute value, a 5 or a 9. Okay, the 9 has a larger absolute value. So your answer will have the same sign. I'm going to zoom in for you here. Maybe. As that number. So if I said 9 was larger and 9 is positive, then my answer is going to be positive. Okay, so my answer will be positive 4 instead of negative. Okay, I'll walk you through a couple of these here at the bottom. Okay, and then you'll get to practice on the back here, okay? So, 5 plus negative 4. That's 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then I'm going to circle my 0 pairs. I'll grab a different color here. That's a 0 pair. 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair. What do I have left over? Just a positive 1. That's my only answer. Okay, now my number line. Okay, I'm going to be working around pretty small numbers, so my numbers don't have to be huge here. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, negative 2. Okay, so right here, I start at 0, and I'm going to go 5 spaces in the positive direction. Okay, done. Then I'm going to go 4 spaces in the negative direction because this number is a negative. So 4 spaces in the negative direction. My answer is positive 1. Okay, negative 2 plus 8. So that's 2 negatives. 1, 2, and then 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, just grab my daughter's colored pencils here. I'm going to circle my 0 pairs. And what do I have left over? Positive 6. Okay, and what happens with my rules, if I subtract my numbers, 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, 8 is larger than 2, and 8's positive, so my answer is positive. Okay, same thing right here. I'm going to start at 0. And if you're not sure how to draw your number line, think about it. I'm going to go 2 spaces in the negative, so my number line has to go at least to negative 2. And then I'm going to turn and go in the positive direction. So then I don't need to go much farther negative because I need to be going the other direction. So when you're setting your number lines, that information may help you. Okay, so I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to go 2 spaces in the negative direction here. And then I'm going to stop and I'm going to go 8 spaces in the positive direction. Okay, one last one where I want to give you some, I want to do both of these real fast. 10 negatives, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's okay. 1 positive, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I want to get rid of all my 0 pairs. All of these are 0 pairs. They cancel each other. My answer is negative 4. My number line here would go negative 10 spaces and back 6, and I would end up at a negative 4. Okay, that one's not a big deal. My 5 and negative 5. 5 positives and 5 negatives. When I get rid of all those 0 pairs, there is nothing left. So my answer would have to be 0. Okay, my number line, I'm going to start out at 0. I'm going to go 5 spaces in the positive direction. And then I'm going to turn around and go 5 spaces in the negative direction. Okay, so pay close attention to where you end up at 0. Okay, so what you're going to do is the rest of that page as well. Okay, they look very similar to the other one. These have opposite signs where one's positive and one's negative, while page 30 has the numbers that are all the same sign. Okay? All right, good luck.